You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. What's up? What's going on? Thursday, September 26th. Love to hear from you, wherever you are, what you're doing. Just drop me a line. Say hello, whether you're on the X platform like our friend Madam Rex with the moon emojis already inserted, so we're ready to go. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, even sorry that you're watching it there, but that's okay. It's really actually misbehaving right now. I can't tell if we're broadcasting there or not, but whatever. YouTube works the best, and it actually is in some small way, believe me, tiny teeny way, is a way to support what we do, is to like and share and to subscribe to Wings of the Eagle channel. And when we do go on live, you'll be alerted if you hit that little bell thing and share it right now. Share it so somebody else is alerted. That would be nice. Really, really great. Really great, actually. But if you're just listening on audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and whatever, we love you just the same. Appreciate you as well. We know you're there. So please disseminate that, if you will, if you like what we're doing. If you think we do interesting topics like today's. And you can see in the description a couple of things today. If you look below, you'll have the regular links to go to support the podcast, because we do need it. We are brought to you by you, and that's it. There's no other support coming in except for the viewers. So please support us if you can. wingsoftheeagle.com/support unsealed. Or if you're into Patreon and basically getting something for your support, I understand. That is an option as well. We're building it up slowly, but it is happening. So please go to patreon.com/wings of the eagle if you would. Greatly appreciated. And again, interaction's the key. So say hello, ask a question. Again, share it with somebody. Tell somebody else this is happening. That would be great. All right. Anyway. Oh, the other announcement is tomorrow, since we are doing this on Thursday, if you're participating live, tomorrow I'll be doing the first ever, after who knows how much delay or hemming and hawing about it, the X or Twitter Spaces. I'll be doing a space tomorrow with my sister here, and very much looking forward to it. It kind of reminds me of the old radio days, because it's not video. Obviously, the spaces are just meant for audio and stuff. So anyway, if you please do tune into that. That's the first time we're doing it, and it's in the middle of what's called UFO Twitter Week. And so that'll be our contribution to that week. And I figure, why not? If we don't delay anymore, let's just jump in and try it out. And if it sucks, then we won't do it again. But I think it won't. I think it'll be nice and fun even. And your participation would be fantastic. So anyway, the link is down below directly for the space, so you can get notified of it, or just follow me on X right there, Mantei4 at MANTEI4. You see that right here on video, people, at MANTEI4. That would be excellent. And then you'll be notified of all that stuff. I post there all the time, even if it's just random updates about news items or things happening in the world, or thoughts, scriptures, of course, stuff like that. Okay. Since you're here, Madam Rex, help me out. Remind me you sent me a Bible piece. Was it today? Yesterday, I guess it was, about the moon. And pretty sure that's a psalm, but I could be wrong. So can you quote me on that? Where exactly was that from? So we can talk about that a little bit. But in general, we're going to talk about the moon. Can we talk about the moon? What a silly concept, you might say. Why in the world would we do that? It's a big rock. It's dead. It's boring. It's really cool to look at at night. What's your problem? What more is there to talk about? Well, a lot, I think. So, first of all, random, factoid about your host is always been freaked out by the moon. I've always been freaked out. Not sure exactly why, but never really liked it. Never really liked it up there. I'm sure the little kid in me says, "Oh, it's too close. It's too big. It's scary." I don't know, but yeah, never liked it, and kind of forgot about that for years and years until recently, or the past few months or year or whatever, when we were doing the crash course and diving into the UFO world again after leaving it for so long. Since the congressional hearings last July, I'm like, man, I gotta go back into this and see what's really going on. And so as part of that, there's some moon stuff starts coming up, and from different sources. A historical review, the Apollo space missions, the various things that we've done as a country and as from other countries as far as visiting the moon and events and pictures that were taken that were never seen by the public, that kind of stuff. Like, why does that happen? What's up with that? So that, and I guess we'll talk about that to start with, but there's other aspects to it for sure. Like it may have a real connect. Psalm 72, she says, questioningly. All right, we're gonna look that up. There's a real possibility that it has a connection to what we call the Tower of Babel, or at least the Ur of Ziggurat, Ziggurat of Ur in Iraq, which is, of course, if you read your Bible, that's where Abraham was born, was from. God called him out of Ur of the Chaldeans, as it says. So that's southern Iraq, basically, or just Iraq. And so there's a real possibility that lunar connection with that tower, if that is the Tower of Babylon or not, I don't know. We're not going to really get into that today, but it might be. And there's certainly a possible connection to that. Obviously, the ancient world had a lot of moon worship going on and assigned gods and goddesses to, well, usually it was a goddess, right, to the moon. Usually the sun was like the male and the moon was like the female god, goddess or whatever, but not always. And the Chaldean, the Ur temple ziggurat thing, actually was dedicated to a male moon god, which there aren't many in history. I think we found there's the Allah of the Muslims, and with his moon symbol, and the Quetzalcoatl guy in Central America, right? Is that right? Brain, help me out. Anyway, it's very rare, but it's a thing. So that's interesting to me on a mythological fan, or somebody who's interested in that and what it could mean in real history and things of that nature. And then the scripture itself obviously is not full, but there's definitely references to the moon. And so something's not right. Something's not right about it. And then also, kind of attached to the Apollo missions and the what we call the far side of the moon. Maybe you grew up here in the dark side of the moon. That just meant we could never see it. Because one of the features that's so freaking weird about the moon is it never it rotates technically, but we never see the other side because it's turning at the exact perfect way, so the same side is always facing the earth. What's up with that? What is up with that? Like, that's, if that's not the Lord, if that's not God doing that, well, first of all, he has to be behind it in some way, right? Like, why would he do that? What is the point other than to keep one side of the moon hidden from humanity? All right. Or maybe he gave permission for someone else to do that. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But let's just say we could do hours and hours and hours on the weird stuff about the moon, like what it's made of, like why it rotates the way it does, why it affects the oceans. So, like, it's part our seasons are storms. That whole, like, we're seeing a big hurricane whipping up. There was nothing there like 3 days ago, and now it's going to be a Category 5 hitting Florida tomorrow or whatever. That is all influenced by the moon. Some would say in some ancient cultures, I'm not even talking about the Bible, I'm talking about like South America, indigenous people say there was a time when there was no moon. And that time there was no storms and no seasons. It was always nice and whatever all the time. And you didn't need rain. It was always this misty dew stuff. Well, that's kind of Genesis talk in there. Anyway, so there's lots of weird stuff about the moon, including that it sounds like it's hollow. Because we've done experiments when we were there, and we literally dropped some of our space junk on it, and was listening. Not junk, but we couldn't use it anymore, or whatever. Anyway, you can look all this up if you want. There's a Y Files. If you ever saw that YouTube channel, which is really cool, the guy with his talking fish. Really, really interesting, and he goes into a lot of this. And you would call them anomalies. Okay, there's more than a few anomalies about the moon. And then there's the Ingo Swann side of it. Some people don't like to talk about this or have no idea who he is or was. He's dead now. But with this UFO topic, sometimes you get into tangential or related things that some people say it's very much related, which is what we call remote viewing. Lou Elizondo talked about this in his new book, and of course Hal Puthoff, and there's that whole history about remote viewing as a military weapon, tool, spying tool, at least, if not more. That type of ability by people that was demonstrated by certain folks to be effective. And think of it what you want, but there's an example of one of the first ever to do it, maybe one of the original great ones at it, called Ingo Swann, and he claimed to have visited the moon. Or to listen to the story that he tells about it, he was told to go to the moon in a remote way from the remote viewing location where he was, to go check out the moon for some reason, and he saw that it was not, what he saw was not an empty rock, but actually things were living on it. Things that look like people, but not from America or any other country. And there were lights around and strange vehicles and stuff like that. Oh, that's crazy. That's just some crazy guy seeing stuff. The lights on the moon are real. Like, you can see it. If you're looking at, I mean, there's lots and lots of instances of that kind of stuff. So something out of all that, when you put all that together, tells me something is off. Something is off. And maybe I have a reason to be concerned, or to be weirded out by this whole thing up there. And maybe there's a bigger plan at work. All right, so let's look at Psalm 72, if that's right. I'll take the blame if it's not, because I should have done this before we went on the air. That looks like it's right. I mean, the righteous flourish in their days, the abundance of peace until the moon is no more. That's interesting. But verse above, in verse 5, this is Psalm 72, verse 5. Let them who fear you while the sun endures, or as long as the sun shines, as long as the moon from generation to generation, as long as the moon remains in the sky, yes, forever. But then 2 verses later, it says, until the moon is no more. Okay. Okay. Even we can't even agree to this point in history, in this time, from scientists and whatever, how the moon came to be. We don't even know. We can't even agree that it was where it came from. What some say was a part of the Earth itself, and there was a massive asteroid impact or something in the past, and a big chunk of the Earth flew out and kind of got caught in the gravity, and that's what the moon is. It's way, way round for that. To me, I just don't see how that could be. But that's a theory. Another one is it got sucked in again by gravity's pull, or something forced it out of the what do they call it? The Van Allen belt or whatever. Like a big asteroid, like the asteroid belt. Okay. What are the other theories about how the moon got created, or just ended up there? Because, again, the weird things are it's made of different things than the Earth is, so it's probably not part of the Earth. The composition, of the soil and whatever. Anyways, so yes, all this stuff is very mysterious, and I think we should start to take it seriously. And it's a full moon today. Thanks, Jeff. Is it really? I know the other day, there was that super hunter orange moon thing, double freak out time. Thankfully, by our house, it was cloudy. You could still see it though, but it was still pretty impressive. But yeah, we didn't get the full effect. But even if, and as Madam Rex says, no, not today, actually. Okay. Oh, that song could be explained by poetic language, talking Psalm 72. Yeah, it could. Just making a point, right? Oops. May he give justice to the afflicted people, save the children of the needy, crush the oppressor, let them fear you while the sun endures, as long as the moon from generation to all generations. In other words, forever. May he come down like rain upon the moon, grass like showers that water the earth. He, justice, but he, God. May the righteous flourish in his days, and abundance of peace until the moon is no more. May he reign from sea to sea, from the river to the ends of the earth. The river meaning the Euphrates. The desert creatures kneel before him, and his enemies lick the dust. This is it's poetic, it's also prophetic, right? Talking about the Lord coming to the earth, his enemies bowing to him, licking the dust. That's something the serpent does, for example. So, like, yeah, it's meaningful. Here's yes, that's Jeff is referring to when he says Exodus Sessions Part 1. This is a series we did a while ago with friends of ours. We had a very archaeologically minded brother Todd is part of this camp where he sees that the moon was part of the earth until something like an asteroid or whatever collided with the earth, pushing the moon out and taking up residence as the earth's core, meaning the iron that collided with us. I mean, right? That's one of them theories. Angela Uchi used to do the To the Moon and Back podcast before coming to Christ. That's probably isn't that a reference to the children's storybook? I don't know. To the I Love You to the Moon and Back. Anyways, so yeah, there's not a whole lot of good theories. We're kind of mystified by this thing. And yes, by the way, we have been to the far side of the moon a few times, not a lot. And again, this is one of those times where, boy, we had a lot of pictures taken up there, but not a lot are seen by the public. Why? And those that are, a lot of times, are scrubbed, are altered, are grayed out or affected in some way. And we've got good proof of that, multiple instances of that. Why would you classify something on the moon unless you don't want it to get out? There was actual military U.S. plans to colonize the moon, or at least set up a military base there to fight the Russians. But that kind of went nowhere. All of a sudden, it died. Did you know there was supposed to be 3 more Apollo missions that never happened? Why is that? They had I think they sold the craft. They had the rockets or the orbiters before you could reuse them. They built the plan was to have 20 missions, and they backed out early. And let's just say there's more. Yeah, I hear you, Jeff. Jeff, by the way, he's got excellent thoughts, really outside the box stuff. China took new pics to the far side of the moon. China was there. China, I don't know if that might be right or might not be, Jeff. I know they were at the pole, the South Pole, because they discovered there might be ice there. And of course, oh, wow, water on the moon. That's cool. Well, of course, everyone's thinking about how to militarize it. And how do we fuel our base up there that we don't have yet? That's what they're thinking. Yeah, technically, I guess it was the far side, but it was at the pole. I don't know if they went around, though. But let's just say, yes, they're interested in that for some reason. Apollo missions were horribly expensive. Yeah. And Vietnam put Apollo out of people's minds. I hear you. That's usually what you hear is the reason, but I don't buy it. They were all expensive. Everyone was not into it every time. Not that I would know. I mean, face to face, I wasn't born until 1975. So I missed kind of all those, most of them. But yeah, so it was abrupt. It was just out of nowhere. Boom, we're not going back. And you have testimony of astronauts who had seen things and were not allowed to say, and they were on secure channels that no one could hear, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that something funny was going on there. And then there's the pictures that sometimes you can't get rid of, or we didn't get rid of that part. Should have scrubbed that one. There are structures there. There are structures that are gigantic, artificial. We don't know what they were for. They look like dormant, like long dormant. It looks like almost like ruins or like ancient artifacts, like looking at a pyramid today. Like, well, we know somebody built it in the past because it's not part of the earth normally. It's like that, but way more futuristic, technical looking stuff. In fact, there's a ziggurat, for example, on it, and it just happens to line up, right where the ziggurat of Ur is. When it passes in front of you, get a straight line from one side to the far side of the moon with a ziggurat. It's so bizarre. Anyway, there's a lot to it, so I don't know where I want to go with this other than just open up the can of worms that it seems to be. There's you start theorizing now. Okay, well, it's very, either it's artificial. Some people say it's hollow. Some people say it's a base. Some people, it's like the Death Star. Some people say it's made of metal inside. That's why it rang when we tested that, and it kept ringing and kept ringing and kept ringing. I was blown away. A lot of this comes from a presentation I saw. Like I didn't even care to see it. It was just like part of a conference that I went to. It was a local paranormal conference type of thing where there was some UFO stuff and some, kind of spirit ghost stories, type of ghost hunter types. But the first part of that conference was this local guy, local to me, pretty local, named James Krug. And he had this amazing presentation about the moon. And like all the stuff that I'm telling you about the sounds, about the secret pictures, about the not only us, but the Russians saw giant structures there, and it was all of a sudden got classified. And there's the testimony of people who worked in the photo labs, and how they were told to scrub this, and this is not for the public, and it's classified, and this and that. All that just going boom, boom, boom. He went on for like 30 or 40 minutes. I'm like, I don't want this to end. This is incredible. He's kind of like, yeah, I knew there was something up with this thing. So it seems some of it at least behaves very artificially, whether it's how it got there, why it turns the way it does, what it's made of, why it sounds like that, what these structures are. Again, I don't know how seriously you want to take a remote viewer, but are there actual beings there, or were there beings there? People have shot UFOs on camera coming in and out of the moon. Okay, I'm just saying. A lot of times we, those of us who are into this topic or just want to know the truth about it, darn it. The assumption is this is some other civilization from a million light years away on some other planet, but all the evidence is that it's very close to home. Whatever it is, whoever they are, to the point where the far away as we're talking is like the moon, like everything else is closer, like the ocean, like the under the earth, like around in the sky. Like, it's something we got to process. And this is why I'm what you would say pro-disclosure, even though most Christians either aren't or can't care less about it or pretend not to care. I'm doing my best to make the church care. Because like the Lord said, I only do what I see the Father doing. I see the Lord is doing this. I see the Holy Spirit is leading in this. We're going to need to know. So that's what disclosure is. It's opening up the truth. The truth. And we'll deal with it. And there's no reason to be afraid of the truth, even if we don't understand how it could be. Right? That was like the famous Project Blue Book rationale or Condon report, or whatever the heck that was. We don't believe it because it can't be true. It can't be true, therefore it isn't. Typical arrogance. Jeff pointing out the last mission, the Apollo, was 1972. I missed them all, save the last one. You're giving away your age there, buddy. Yeah, so I arrived right after that. And that's when that Ingo Swann stuff happened in the 70s. So the question is, well, did he have a live picture, or was he actually traveling in time as well as in place? Again, assuming, just put your opinions aside, and well, if it's real, then what exactly happened there? Mining the moon equals too much will affect tidal forces? Maybe. I don't know. Nobody knows that. Could be. This is biblical now, right? The wind and seas, the waves roaring. And this is one of the scary, end times things where Jesus says there's signs of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The moon won't give its light. And so, yeah, it's part of it. It's part of this whole thing. This whole drama. Oh, now you're giving away your age, bond servant. I remember watching the first moonwalk when I was a kid. And the Bible writes that God created the moon as a lesser light. Was it a place to live on from the beginning? That's right. Now we got to think about that stuff. He does call it the lesser light in Genesis 1. In fact, the word moon doesn't even come up until the very end of Genesis, when Joseph has his dream, I believe. So that's a lot, thousands of years after. And so yeah, it's just called the lesser light. Which, of course, it's not a light at all. It just reflects the sun's light. But be that as it may. Oops, didn't want to miss this one. Bond Servant says there's an asteroid being caught up in orbit around the Earth. I read. No, not yet. Yeah, that'll be what? Is that in a few weeks, I guess? They say we're going to have a second moon. Like, oh, great. That's just what we need. Yeah, that'll be freaky. Freaky. Nah, enough of that. Not yet, Jeffrey. So yeah, there's a lot to chew on and think about in this stuff. And if you want to go in a particular direction now, you who are watching, feel free. I guess I just want to throw all that garbage out there and see what's interesting. It's all interesting to me in a negative way. I just feel compelled to, it seems like all this high strangeness, all this weird stuff. The moon is part of it, and the ocean's part of it. That's where I'll be concentrating, for sure. Genesis 1:16, yeah, that's the sun and the moon, greater light and lesser light. And some would say, an old teacher that used to say, this is actually referring to Jesus and Satan. I don't think I believe that, but because Jesus wasn't created. there could be something to that. In Revelation 11, we have this throughout the Bible, throughout Revelation, Daniel and stuff, we have this time period of 3.5 years, right? Sometimes it's called time and half a time, 3.5 years. Sometimes it's called 1,260 days, and another time it's called 42 months. A month is a moon. So, and the only time that is referred to in that way is, I think it's Revelation 11 in a negative way. In other words, the bad guy's time is in moons. Let's see here. Check myself. Oops, not moons. I'm going literal here. Months. Yeah, Revelation 11:2 and 13:5. They're both negative. Leave out the court. And we just talked about this in our Ezekiel study this past Monday. Leave out the court which is outside the sanctuary. Do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles. It's talking about measuring a temple that doesn't exist yet, so this is in the future. It has been given to the Gentiles. They will trample the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And then in Revelation 13, it says, and there was given to him a mouth speaking great boasts and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. So one is about being invaded or trampled, Jerusalem invaded by the quote unquote Gentiles, the evil army that comes against it. And then about the beast himself, the mouth speaking great boasts against God and authority to act for 42 months. So it's all about that final time by what the enemy does, what the bad guys do. It's given in months. Anyways, just throwing it out there. Bond servant looks like she's thinking again. It's dangerous. So end times, if waves are roaring, etc. That's Luke 21. Can we pinpoint this as Jesus' return or the day or before? Maybe something knocks the moon out of place. I believe that's Luke 21 as he's talking about the signs of his coming. Nation rises against nation, kingdom against kingdom, earthquakes, various places, famines and plagues, terrors and great signs from heaven, or miraculous events in heaven or from heaven. Now you could say, well, that talking about someone who comes from heaven and now is on the earth like a fallen angel or the devil, or is the heavens like the moon? For all these things, they will lay their hands on you. Right. It's got to be verse 21 or something like that. Flee to the mountains. Name of a good book. Till the Gentiles are fulfilled. That's Revelation's quoting from verse 24. There it is. Okay. She's, of course, is right on. Verse 25. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, or miracles, something miraculous. Does that necessarily mean good miracles or legit from the Lord? Maybe not. Signs of sun, moon, and stars on the earth, anguish among nations, or turmoil or pain. In perplexity, perplexed by the roaring of the sea and the waves or strange tides. Men will be fainting from fear and the expectations of what they see coming upon the world. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud. So probably right before the Lord comes. This looks like the end of that 3.5-year period, probably. Sci-fi thinking, I like that. The FP, the false prophet, calls fire down. Yes, it's Revelation 13 says that's what it says. It said it calls fire down from heaven. He calls fire down from heaven. A lot of people say that means lightning. Doesn't say lightning. Could be. Or fire, like God and Elijah. That whole episode. Calls fire down, or maybe it's just electricity, something like that. If someone's living in the moon, would be trippy if the fire comes from there. Right? Okay. Hey. Maybe it seems miraculous, but like you're saying, sci-fi, like the Death Star or something, right? You have the fire or the laser or the whatever comes from maybe the heavens, including the moon. So maybe it comes from the moon. Maybe he has help up there. Maybe that's how he is going to accomplish this. It seems miraculous, but it's actually not, because he's got a crew up there. Like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go, guys. All right. That's a really cool thought. Really cool thought. Yep. But even if that's the case, let's think on that for a second. That could be. That's a neat thought. But you would think it still says he needs permission from the devil to do it, or access or something, right? It says that Satan gives him his power, seat, and great authority to the beast, and then this false prophet points to that kingdom, to follow it, to worship the dragon. Okay, so that could be a possibility, which would mean, if that were the case, it would mean that whoever is operating on the moon at that point, at least, would be on Satan's team and would listen to him, or need permission, or be under his command structure. Hey, I like this. I like this thought process. And for the record, like, if that were to be, let's say that, just say for instance, okay? So for instance, let's say that's true. And that's how it's going to play out. And we have people, something is on the moon helping out the bad guys, the devil and his angels. Doesn't mean it's the devil and his angel on the moon. It does not mean they're demons on the moon. In fact, I think that's impossible. Theologically. I don't see how you could make the case that demons could leave the earth at all. The only conditions of demonic anything is under the earth and in people. Right? Sheol, you can say, maybe Jesus says when they're cast out of someone, they go to this place like a desert where they can't ever find relief. Maybe that's a literal desert. Maybe it's some kind of in-between world. Maybe that's Sheol, right? Maybe that's the experience of being in that realm of the dead. But remember, demon is not infinite in number. They are a relatively small number of creatures, and they can't. There's no way. I would bet money that they cannot leave the earth. They're tied here. So if they're in a person, and the person could do something, I guess. But again, like, okay, you're possessed? Again, okay, but I know no one's bringing this up. I'm just going here. If a demon possesses someone, I'm not saying it's impossible to do alternate things, but the only things we see in the Bible about it is they really just make life very hard. on the person they're in. They make them suffer. They make them hurt themselves. They make them not speak or not see or go into convulsions, throw themselves into fire, right? They're not interested in doing a bigger plan of anything, right? They're harassing the person they're in, and that's it. That's the biblical account. So anyway, I'm not trying to dismiss anything outright, unless it's in the scriptures that say not possible, or yes, this is a fact. Then it would be very helpful to not assume it. So I've kind of been saying all along here. Also thinking Jesus comes before all are killed. Well, no, yes. Not all will not be killed for sure. If this sci-fi scenario is plausible, those dramatic signs that point to the moon's effects kind of fits. Kind of does. The dragon may control people if there's a moon base, for example. Just thinking here. The dragon can't control people. He can have people who willingly work for him. People, right? We know he's third of the angels sided or will side with him in the war in heaven. He's not making them do that. The angels who came to earth in Genesis 6 willingly did that. They have free will. So do we. So it's possible that there's a contingent who are, maybe they're deceived by him and maybe they're not. They know exactly who he is on the team, but it doesn't mean that he has to control anything. Influences. I'm just saying it's a free will choice. If I'm just going through this scenario here, if this were to be true, he doesn't have to influence anyone. They already cast their lot. They know what the deal is. It's like the mark of the beast. You're not going to be tricked into getting that. It's called the mark of the beast, but Satan didn't make you do it. You did it because you wanted to. There were things that more important to you than Jesus, so you take it. Same thing with if this other scenario. She had psychic abilities, it sounds like. I'm sorry, who are we talking about? Who's she? I'm talking about bondservant? I don't know, Madam Rex. Clarify. Previous comment first. Greater light and lesser light. That's the only one I see. I'm sorry, I don't see anything at all there. Maybe. Do I see comments on the hey, shush. I don't. Yeah, it didn't go through. Right. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that the confusion was for a reason. And I didn't mess anything up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we have to get used to the idea that if there is this grand conspiracy, over time, um, and there are people, not demons, not angels or whatever, with abilities that are far, or abilities or technology or whatever you want to call it, that are far beyond what we can imagine right now. Um, they could just be on the other team willingly, right? No, you know what I mean? So the common sense is like those are the strongest organizations, um, period, right? Just like if you have a volunteer army is better, way better than a conscripted army, right? If you're volunteering for service, that's way more effective than making people do it. So same idea. So the whole serving the dark side thing is way more than kids with a Ouija board. What we like to imagine as serving the devil or something. I think it would be way more involved than that, if there are such people, not on the in society. We're talking about the moon here on Unsealed, and we're almost about ready to wrap it up, I think. Just waiting for a little clarification. Lots of things happening, man. I almost went into the underwater stuff today, but that's just too. It would got me more views probably, but because that's kind of breaking right now with Chris Sharp and some others who were divulging some secrets about recovery programs from the Navy and CIA and all these other companies who are digging things up and recovering things from the ocean's floor that are not human. Again, typical. It's like, doesn't matter if it crashes in the desert or if it's underwater or if it's on a mountaintop. It's all the same operation. Okay, there she is. We're now on YouTube. Let's see if this works. I don't know what's going on with your comments. I'm sorry. Sent that 3 times on X. Well, phew, X is biased against you. Anyways, here's the comment. I said demons also drown the pigs, right? Yes. Inhabited the oracle following Paul, and she had psychic abilities. Okay, and that's where you said she had psychic abilities, it sounds like. Well, it says she had a spirit. And what did she say? Like these men are telling the truth. They're from God. Listen to them. That kind of stuff, right? Was there something other than that? That doesn't sound psychic. So yeah, right, demons, when they were sent out of the guy in the cliffs, he said, "Don't send us to the abyss, send us to the pigs over there." And he's like, "Fine." I'm not sure why Jesus did that, but So they can enter animals, or at least when Jesus sends them there, they can go into animals. Because they really are not interested in possessing animals, obviously, because immediately they go and kill the animals to be released back into the queue, right? So they can find another person to inhabit. I think that's what we would gather from that. The oracle who earned money for her masters. Okay. Unclean spirit. Yes. Was that because that what you would call a fortune teller, basically? See, now if there's a demon involved, it really isn't that hard for it to know other stuff, I figure. And you would just communicate that to your host, right? So there's two actual entities there. I can't wait until tomorrow, actually, when I'm sure we'll get into, we talk about this Collins Elite thing, and where this part of the story comes from, and what Christians who were pretty recently in the government, in some kind of program where there was some negative effects from psychic abilities. I'm going to talk to you more about that, actually, before tomorrow. She was annoying Paul. That's kind of what it says. Yeah, right? It says she was just annoying him. So he says, spirit, get out of her. And because he knew that she would be useless, basically, to her boss, right, at that point. Demons are often used colloquially for all the dark powers of the air. Technically wrong, but still all bad guys. Well, you're talking about Ephesians 6. Was it Colossians, right? When Paul lists the hierarchy of something, they're not demons. The powers and principalities and right. So, I mean, that's worth like going over again as far as what those things are. Are they all entity creatures like we would imagine them? Principalities we know they're like call them angels if we want, right? They're responsible for different parts of land, right? God says, okay, you are in control of this. You're responsible for this nation to basically do the right things, to have a conscience, to seek God, to, tell them I'm here, that type of stuff. But they still have free will to not do that job. So not all principalities are bad, for example. When he calls Satan the prince of the power of the air, I'm not even sure what that means. I think it's a bad translation. Because like what, the air, like the sky where you see UFOs, but we have planes flying around there. It's like Satan's not knocking planes down or possessing people who are on airplanes. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a dimensional maybe situation. But you're right. They are most Christians and non-Christians will say demons, meaning any negative thing, entity, anywhere. And like you say here, fallen angels often lumped in with demons. In common parlance, technically wrong, but they're all bad guys. Right. Obviously correct. Right. Some even equate them, which again, I think we would agree is a false equivalence. The fallen angels did not become demons. All right. They're different things. And even to be a fallen angel, what does that mean? It just means you're chosen to fight God. You don't want to be part of his plan, or whatever. So you're siding with the enemy. And some of them came to earth in Genesis 6 and some haven't yet. T-Rex says, all I'm saying is an entity of any sort who works against God is a bad guy. That's right. Whether people refer them as demonic or not. Yes, correct. An error, but it's not an error in understanding good versus evil. Correct. No doubt. No doubt. That's true. So like, does it make a difference what we, in our terminology? It might. That's where I'm at, right? It might. We shouldn't assume, but it doesn't mean the idea is wrong. It might mean we just have more work to do. As far as the church, because, if you follow Jesus, if you're the church, the world depends on you for answers. And to know the facts, and to glorify God in no matter how bad it is, and to get the truth out there no matter how bad it is. It doesn't make a difference, but not at the heart of the issue. Well, maybe. All I'm saying, T-Rex, we may not be talking about the same thing. Right? Like, and we'll end on this because we've been at this for an hour. The heart of what? If we're interacting with some non-human intelligence, that's what we're talking about, right? And these, whatever they are, have proven they're not good. They lie, they cause harm. That's potentially evil beings. I mean, like some kind of something in the Bible, whether it's officially a demon or a principality or something along in there, perhaps, but perhaps not. Humans are evil, right? I mean, great evil. You can't know it. The heart is so evil of man, so dark. So like, men have no problem. They don't need the devil or a demon to be evil, to do wicked things, to blaspheme God, to murder one another, to torture, to you name it. So it might be making the devil happy when you behave like that, but they're not influencing you per se. You're just doing it because you're evil. We can choose it. Angels can choose it. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's leave it there for now and talk about the moon some more at some other point, because I think it's going to come up again. So check it out. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, as always, you can drop me a line here, wherever you're watching this, or on the X platform is helpful. We have our own app, by the way, the End Time Church app. Hit me there. Christopher at wingsoftheeagle.com if you want. But hopefully this has been entertaining and thought-provoking for you. And until next time, which hopefully is next week, I do appreciate you all so very much. Thanks for coming along this journey with us, and hopefully see you tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, go to X Spaces in the middle of UFO Twitter week and catch up some Christian UFO talk, because there's not a lot of it. So be part of that. All right. Till next time, this is Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. Bye-bye.